Well, we always knew that Saint-Denis was a good grappler. At least I always did. I always thought he was a good grappler, low hips, strong, very durable, except when he's coming off a staph infection, as he did with Dustin Poirier, which I called for the record. We knew that. It wasn't, honestly, that's not even that big of a flex. We knew it. We saw it on his head. He's wearing a hat, never wears a hat. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, you're going to have a staph infection. You're going to take antibiotics. You're going to be diminished. Dustin Poirier's going to go out there and get the W. And then he got cut against Moicano makes money and ended up, getting the fight called for him. Those were his two back-to-back losses. All of a sudden, everyone's selling on Benoit Saint-Denis. He's a freaking dog, man. And honestly, I'm taking him over Benny.
Yeah, me too. It's a tough one because he beat Rufi through that great grappling, but like Beneil's striking isn't nearly as good as Rufi. But Beneil presents a lot of challenges for Benoit Saint-Denis on the ground. That's really what it comes down to. Beneil, you can't sleep on his grappling. He gave Charles a hard time with the grappling. So I think it's going to be a scrap. And then you look at Beneil and the fights that he's had in the past, he does have he's strong. It's not like he's this incredible boxer or anything. But I always think back, and it's going back years, but that knockout against Drakkar Klose, he's had some great performances. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people expect. And I think it's going to open the main card with an upset.
It's not even on the main card. It's still a prelim.
Oh, this is a prelim?
It's a prelim.
Crazy.
And I want to highlight that that Beneil Dariush is 36 and a half years old to Benoit Saint-Denis is 29. And I as long as Benoit Saint-Denis manages to not get injured, I think he's going to go out there, and I think he hits harder and he's faster than Beneil Dariush. I think he's more durable than Beneil Dariush, especially with the age difference. I think he's tougher than Beneil Dariush, and I think he's got quicker, more powerful hips than Beneil Dariush, and I don't see him falling into a trap where he's like in a submission situation. I like Benoit Saint-Denis all day. I would take him minus 250 in this matchup here. I'm very, very I was going to say hard, but very strong on Benoit Saint-Denis.
Now I'm going to go Beneil Dariush by split decision. I think he's going to equal one out with the judges. He's really good in like these matchups where it's a really strong striker, like these well-rounded guys. Beneil Dariush does find a way to counter a lot of things and make him look a little rough on the ground. So you look at the way that the judging's been going recently, man, it's like really horrible. There's so much fixation in sports nowadays between the NBA and, now you have the UFC involved. Can't tell me it stops with the fighters and doesn't go to the judges. So I think when there's money involved, I don't know. We'll see. Beneil Dariush, though. I like him by split decision. I think he's going to eke one out here. Just counter things, counter grappling, counter striking. That's what he's good at. So, yeah, give me Beneil.
It's time!
What's kicking, everybody? We are back for another episode of Pickin' Fights. I'm Keith, joined as always by my friend Tom. Tom, how are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Another day in paradise. Really excited about UFC 322. I was going back and checking out the card, and damn, every time I look at it, it just gets better and better. I'm more and more excited for it. How are you doing, Keith?
I am doing excellent. You just caught us talking about Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis, the first of our prelim notables. As you know, we always jump in with our prelim notables. But first, I'd like to ask everyone at home, please like, comment, subscribe. If you're here with us live, jump in the chat. We love talking to you guys at home, and we love when you talk back. And then also, all right, we're starting off hot here from Taransi Haraket. We are judged in life for the evil we destroy. Hell yeah. I don't know who quoted that, but yeah, that's what we're talking about. Jump in the chat. Let us know what you think. Also, when you subscribe, hit that bell up the top so you get notified when we go live, and then, you can jump in here with us and chat. What do you think of our picks? Leave a comment. Follow us on X and Instagram @_Pickin' Fights. Tom's is @Pickin' Fights Tom, and I'm @Pickin' Keith. And you can also listen to us on Spotify, full audio, video over there. Am I missing anything?
No, sounds good to me.
All right, so we got the UFC yearly November MSG card coming up. That's this weekend. What number are we at now?
322 is the number. 322, and it's not the last of, but I think it's the second to last of the pay-per-view era before the switch to Paramount.
Is Paramount no pay-per-view?
No pay-per-view.
Wow.
No
Wow. How
pay-per-view.
about that for all the people at home? Because I was even under the impression like, yo, it's fight sports. How does the UFC think that they're going to make money? They're so cheap. Pay-per-views have been the model for years and years. So it is very interesting that Paramount will be a no pay-per-view model. That's so cool. And if you're a real UFC fan, were you even paying for pay-per-views to begin with?
Yes, everybody's paying for pay-per-views, Keith. What?
Yeah.
You're not paying for pay. You probably don't read the terms of service either.
So 322, at what point do they start renaming and renumbering the cards? All right. Do we get to, is it going to be at the end of this year? All of a sudden it's UFC on Paramount 1? Like how
That's a good question. I don't think you can do that. I think you have to keep you kept that going from inception. I think you can't I don't think you get away from the number there, but like I mean maybe the UFC instead of like a fight night. I mean you can't do the UFC on ESPNs, which were like those Apex cards.
right?
You know, I think they might have even said something. I could be wrong on that, where they talked about doing even less of those Apex cards and having more fights in front of fans. So here's the hoping that they follow through on what they said they would. You know, because
We've been asking for that for years, right? Like there's so many of those local cards we saw years ago. They had one of the ones that sticks out in my mind, maybe a year or two. Stephen Thompson versus Kevin Holland main event in the, I believe at the time it was the Amway Center. Now it's the Kia Center where the Orlando Magic play. What a card, right? Or you have Corey Sandhagen out west. I think he was in Colorado. Sandhagen has fought a couple and we need these localized cards, put local fighters on the cards, and we're going to see some of them here today, some local fighters to the New York, New Jersey area. Very excited about that because it is Madison Square Garden. So, yeah, you want to kick it off with our prelim notables?
Let's do it.
So,
all right,
notables.
First one.
Yeah. I was going to say, I got a guy I love talking about here, Vyacheslav Borshev. And Vyacheslav has not had, well, for because that is his nickname. I love Slava Claus. He's had a rough go of it lately. He lost his last one to Terrence McKinney. Before that, Tom Nolan. And then he had that loss 3 fights ago to Chase Hooper, and that was a tough one. Chase Hooper went up in weight, and then went down. Yeah, he went up to lightweight, and it was a rough going for Vyacheslav against a guy who can only grapple. And this week he's fighting Mateus Camilo, the Jaguar. I always think of the guy, the Jaguar, from that Rick and Morty episode, the Pickle Rick episode. You ever seen that one?
Pickle Rick.
Yeah, he escapes a Jaguar. But this guy, first UFC fight, second UFC fight, but in his first UFC fight, now his name's not coming up. But anyways, first UFC fight was a loss. Unfortunately, his grappling's really good. His striking's really good. And I think ultimately it's just going to be a 3-round Vyacheslav trying to get things done, and Mateus Camilo preventing him from doing what he wants to and from implementing his game plan. He's really good at getting in there. His guys are throwing kicks, punches, wrapping him up. And then when guys want to wrap up with him, he's really good at creating distance. So, yeah, give me Mateus Camilo, unfortunately, against Vyacheslav Borshev for the show. Personally, might lay a little bit on Vyacheslav, but it's a tough one. You know what? Fuck it. Give me Vyacheslav Borshev for the show. That's my guy. I don't go against my guys, as you were going to see later on. I already picked Beneil Dariush in our pre-show pick. Give me Vyacheslav Borshev. The guy's a dog. Slava Claus, he's going to have his little moment when he does his little dance. You know what I'm talking about? His little fucking...
Haven't seen it in a while.
We haven't, but we'll see, because this is probably win or go home for him. So... Yeah,
just one split decision win over the last 5. Got a loss to Terrence McKinney, which certainly doesn't look that good after the run that Terrence McKinney's been on. Has a loss to Chase Hooper, but I think that was before Chase Hooper moved up to lightweight, so not a great look there for him as well.
That was Chase Hooper's lightweight debut.
Lightweight debut, okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, and Chase Hooper has looked better at lightweight, even though he is coming off a loss now. I mean, as much as we want to like Vyacheslav, he is 33 years old, almost 34, staring 8-7-1 in the face after that split decision win. I mean, I think he's a guy that we want to like a lot more than we actually than he actually is as good as. So I think for that reason, against a young guy roughly about the same size, but he's got more pop in his hands. Mateus Camillo does. He's got more speed. He's, also, I mean, again, this loss right here to Gabe Green via submission, rear naked choke. I'm not as concerned about that with the matchup here. So I'm going with Jaguar to get it done. It's maybe a little bit of a safe pick, but I want to like Vyacheslav. I'm not, he's not one of my guys like he is yours. So I understand the homer pick there, but I'm going the other way.
Fair enough. I have plenty of my guys on this card, so we're gonna have some weird picks coming from me. What do you got next? You got any other fights you want to talk about?
So here's one that I think is an interesting fight that I'm going to be honest. Pat Sabatini is a guy that I've wanted to like. He's a guy who I've picked a lot, and it seems that whenever I pick him, he doesn't win, and then when I don't pick him, he does win. So I've had really bad luck with Pat Sabatini in the past. But Chepe Mariscal is a guy who goes out there, he fights aggressive, he has power in his hands, he has fast hands, and he fights aggressively. He finds a way to get it done, as you see on his last 5, 18-6 overall. Only plus 105 here, actually the underdog, and that's kind of why I'm picking him. You look at Tapology, 70%, 76% are on Mariscal, outlasting Sabatini, and that's how I think this is going to go. Mariscal has strong hips and a strong grappling base, so I don't know if I see Pat Sabatini being able to get in there and attack him with the submission and be successful at it. I think certainly there can be some ground exchanges, and Sabatini could get the better of those, but ultimately I think Chepe Mariscal's a little bit stockier of a guy. He's got strong hips that protect him against, certainly all of the takedowns, if not some of them. And I think he's a little bit better on the feet, a little bit faster on the feet, he's a little bit younger, probably a little bit still in his prime. Give me Chepe Mariscal, machine gun. Not exciting, not sexy, but it's what we're going with. Where are you at, Keith?
I just want to finish up with Taransi Harakat said, so right, we are judged in life for the evil we destroy. Not what you say, not what you promise, what you overcome. Not to stand above others, but to challenge your inner self and win, brothers. Bro, you just inspired me. Like hardcore. I'm going with Chepe Mariscal, by the way. Yeah, give me Chepe. So I'm right there with you. I just wanted to put a little highlight on our new friend over there. Please subscribe. Yeah, I'm going with Chepe, bro, for all the reasons that you said. I cannot argue with any of them. I like Chepe. He's beat some guys that I like. So, he's moving his way up. You got to pick the guy. That's the way that I feel. Pat Sabatini hasn't shown me much. Gerald Mearshart, GM3 versus Kyle Daukaus. We haven't talked about Kyle Daukaus since 2022 when he got knocked out by Eric Anders. Wild ride for the Daukaus brothers, right? They were so hot in like the 2020 time, and then around like the end of 21, beginning of 22, it was just loss after loss for both of those guys. Tom, you have your sibling rule, and typically only one brother is good, the other one's really bad, and both of them fell off. Now, I think we're starting to see which brother is good because Kyle Daukaus has worked his way back into the UFC, and in his return fight, knocked out Michel Pereira, which is no joke. Michel he's serious business. Really good fighter, just weird, wacky styles, and tries first to entertain. Kyle Daukaus caught him. But I think that Kyle Daukaus coming back against GM3 is a very favorable matchup because we've seen him really good in the clinch. We've seen him really good off his back. He's a great grappler, and we know that GM3 loves to grapple. And Kyle Daukaus is showing that he's got some serious, serious power in his hands. He trains with his brother, who is a big, big heavyweight, and it looks like he's gotten stronger. I'm going to go with Kyle Daukaus here. I think that ultimately his grappling is going to be able to, contend with anything that GM3 throws at him. You want to talk about strong hips? That guy's got really strong hips. He's really good at controlling the seatbelt. He's really good with his knees. I remember there was that controversial headbutt with Kevin Holland a few years ago, but that was because of the clinch control and the way that he digs his head in. So, give me Kyle Daukaus to beat Gerald Mearshart this weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to take the Darce Knight to get it done. I don't know that he's going to find a Darce on GM3 here. I think that would be a true upset with the level of jiu-jitsu and grappling prowess that GM3 brings to the cage. He's 37 years old. He is a wily vet, but he does leave himself open to be knocked out. Very notably, RDR submitted him. Brad Tavares' decision. Most recently, Michael Jacek. Who is the credited for the main knockout. Khamzat Chimaev went in there and knocked out GM3 with like one punch. So, he's a guy who can, especially when he's going up against a strong grappler and his opponent, can drop his hand and be worried about the grappling. I think, GM3 does his best when he has a grappling advantage, not when he's going to be contested in the grappling. And, if we're seeing Kyle Daukaus go out there and achieve some knockouts like he did of Michael Pereira using the same thing, where his grappling is kind of what gets its opponent on the back foot, so it opens up the striking. I think it's a lot for GM3 to contend with here. So, yeah, I'm going with Kyle Daukaus. That being said, this is the matchup where I would see GM3 winning. He's been on a 3-fight skid. He tends to get off the schneid right when he's about to get cut from the UFC. So it wouldn't totally surprise me. More than the first fight we talked about, this is one where I might lay a little bit on the plus 270 just to sweeten it a little bit, because you never know. GM3 can surprise you. That being said, I think the logical money and the smart money is going to be on Kyle Daukaus to go out there and get this one done. Probably by finish, man. Probably by finish.
I'm right there with you. I think so as well. So, yeah, we're both going with Kyle Daukaus there. Next one I want to talk about, Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. This is what I'm excited for because Erin Blanchfield is a local gal. I believe she's from like that Montclair, New Jersey area, not too far from New York City. She typically fights on these cards, and then you hear her talk about it in the embedded episodes. Like, well, I get to sleep in my own bed. I get to, she's going to be driving into the city from New Jersey. And from anyone that's unaware, it's just a bridge. So you take the GW, drive down the FDR, and be there. So, I'm going with Erin Blanchfield because there's MMA math, and it does work out sometimes. Big win last time around against Rose Namajunas. Tracy Cortez lost against her. And then also you just look at the grappling skills of Erin Blanchfield. She's beat some really great, just really solid fighters in general. Sure, she had that loss against Manon Fiorot. I think that was one of those losses like over a year and a half ago that it's like, all right, get back to it, snap back. A lot of people were in her ear telling her how good she was, that she was going to be the youngest champ. Setback. Now she's going to go up against Tracy Cortez, and I think she's probably just going to wrestle fuck her for 15 minutes straight. But I'm still going to go with Erin Blanchfield here, and hopefully she says something riveting to make up for how boring this fight's going to be. But Erin Blanchfield is the pick.
Sorry, I cut you off a little bit earlier there, but my thoughts on this one is going to be that Erin Blanchfield is a very good fighter, especially for being 26, considering that she's only going to get better as she gets older and the more times we see her. She's already achieved a pretty strong high for her career fighting. I believe it was for the belt, lost the decision against Manon Fiorot, came back, win over Rose Namajunas via decision, shows that she can handle, the pressure in the moment. She's on the prelims here, so I don't think this is probably the least amount of pressure she's fought with. And then, Tracy Cortez, I know she's 12-2, but I know she gets a lot of sweetheart matchups here. Viviane Araújo, she did look good there. She lost to Rose Namajunas. MMA math would, immediately give this to Erin Blanchfield. Yasmin Eustavicius, Melissa Gatto, Justine Kish by split decision. These aren't phenomenal matchups. I like the level of competition that Erin Blanchfield has fought up until this point better than Tracy Cortez. The fact that she's 26, I think she's going to be more rapidly improving. I think, some UFC fighters, some female UFC fighters have a shorter window, shorter prime, than maybe their male counterparts or maybe than the top level of the female divisions. And I wonder if Tracy Cortez is going to fall into that. She does tend to take a decent amount of time off. And I know that there's obviously a lot of drama that, surrounds her. I don't know if that's just because she's supremely attractive and, everybody tends to pay more attention to attractive ladies, or if she genuinely just has a lot going on. And I wonder if that is going to affect fighting at all. But getting kind of off the point, I think Erin Blanchfield is better in almost all areas than Tracy Cortez. She's younger. Like you said, she's going to be waking up in her own bed and commuting in. Not that she needs it. Even if this fight was happening in Tracy Cortez's living room, I would still give the advantage to Erin Blanchfield. So with that being said, Erin Blanchfield, even at minus 235, is going to be the pick. And I feel solid about it, Keith. I feel really good about that one.
I like it a lot, too. I do think that's one of my favorite locks of the night. Next up, Roman Kopylov versus Gregory RoboCop Rodriguez. This is a tough one. Greg Rodriguez has fought some really great competition so far. He's also listed at 6'3". He's mentally a little bit more sound, I think, than Roman Kopylov in fights. He doesn't get rattled in the same way. Even when we saw him with like a fucking gash in his forehead that was split wide open, Robama did not go down. He did not get out of it. He is Robama. I'm making that one stick because he looks like he's about to get on the mic after he wins and be like, my fellow Americans. So even though he's from Brazil, but yeah, Roman Kopylov, he doesn't have it like upstairs like Gregory Rodriguez does. He's a little bit smaller. He hits, he's got some force, he's got some power behind his hands, but I don't know. It's tough, man, because like if he was like really that good of a striker, like he thought he was against like Ikram Alixarov and guys like that, then I think he should beat a Paulo Costa or at least make it a little bit more of a feisty fight. And instead, I think Gregory Rodriguez goes out there and he games a Paulo Costa type potentially. He's bigger, stronger, and I think he's going to outgame Roman Kopylov this week. It's really tough because Roman Kopylov is another guy that I like. Fuck it. I'm going Roman Kopylov to split his forehead open. He's gonna throw some kind of spinning kick that dinks him off. Nah, you don't think so? Listen, at 6'3", he's really intelligent. His grappling's better. I have to go Greg Rodriguez. So yeah, it's Gregory Robama Rodriguez for me.
That's the second time you've done that. The second time you've done that back to back. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
I'm still going with Viatrav.
Yeah, or whatever the statement is. I probably said that too correct.
Fool me once, can't get fooled again.
Fool me twice, can't get fooled again.
Yeah. But no, I am going with Vyacheslav for that first one. But this one, I'm going to stick with Greg Rodriguez. He's 6'3". He's so smart. Roman is young, and he gets rattled from time to time and starts to.
He's a young 34.
Yeah, he starts to panic a little bit. Like mentally, he seems young. I mean, he's a young-looking dude, but sometimes he starts to throw things that it doesn't really make sense. It's like when you throw a spinning kick out of nowhere and get grappled and taken to the ground, and then there's the round right there. So, yeah, I got to go Greg Rodriguez. What do you think?
What I think is that I think Roman Kopylov could get this one done, and I'll tell you why. Gregory Rodriguez does really good when he's neutral or moving forward. If he has to be on his back foot, he doesn't do as well, and that's when he finds himself getting open for shots, is when he's not able to fight his fight. The RoboCop fight is that plotting style where he's going to come forward, he's going to throw at you, and he's going to seemingly knock you tired, and he can take whatever you're throwing at him because you're throwing off of your back foot. If Roman Kopylov is throwing off of his front foot, able to throw some of those kicks and knock Gregory Rodriguez off balance, which, again, easier said than done, but I think he offers such a dynamic style that he could do it. And I think coming off the loss here, he's going to be a little extra motivated to get it done. I know he is a little bit older, but you said mentally younger. I also think he's probably, I was going to say he's a little bit thicker than Gregory Rodriguez, but I think Gregory Rodriguez is a little bit bigger. He is a little bit longer in his legs. You look at, they got the same reach for Gregory Rodriguez being 3 inches taller. So Roman Kopylov can have a lower center of gravity if Gregory Rodriguez tries to shoot on him, which I don't expect him to do. I expect it to be predominantly standing, which is where Kopylov would rather have it as well. I think he might be a little bit faster, but he's a little bit more wild, whereas Gregory Rodriguez is a little bit more direct and a little bit more orthodox in his approach and that plotting style. It's all going to come down to who is going to be able to implement their game plan. I know that's such a novel idea, right? But I think Roman Kopylov is a little bit more dynamic. I think he's going to throw Gregory Rodriguez off. I think it's going to be harder for Rodriguez to get a read on him. And I think for that reason, Rodriguez might be a little bit paused or moving back. And then Kopylov can have success there. I know it's not the most popular pick here. We look down at Tapology, 75% on Kopylov. And at the end of the day, I am traditionally a Rodriguez guy, but something about this pairing here makes me want to side Kopylov. So I'm going to do it. Plus 135 is going to be what the bet is. And then just to look real quick, I don't know why Best Fight Odds doesn't have all of them on here. And in fact, they don't have any main cards. So, well, I guess that sucks for that. But anyway, picks Roman Kopylov.
Yeah, the main reason that I could see for taking Roman Kopylov is how much Gregory Rodriguez wears his damage. And yeah so that I could see that being a huge factor in this one. So yeah. I something is telling me Roman Kopylov as well. I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to go Roman, man. I'm gonna have to switch it back again, but I think he's gonna wear his damage like really, really on his face, and Roman Kopylov's gonna end up winning that one. Bo Nickel versus Adolfo Vieira. Well, Bo Nickel coming off a bad loss to RDR. RDR, a guy that could do it all, and then he goes out and gasses against Brendan Allen in the 4th round after putting it all out there in round 1. You'd like to believe that Bo Nickel comes back after a loss like that and works on his striking. He ate those nasty knees up the middle. Unfortunately, I think Rodolfo Vieira, unfortunately for Bo Nickel, I think Rodolfo Vieira actually has a very good counter wrestling style. He's not too dissimilar in the way that he fights to an RDR, where like he's willing to go to the ground with you, he's willing to stand up, and then when he goes to the ground with you, he's not passive. He is looking for submissions. As we've seen out of his last 5 fights, he's won 2 of them by submission, and that being a Cody Brundage, who like didn't look great this weekend, and Armin Petrosian, who's not bad either. I think it's going to be a way more interesting matchup than a lot of people think. You know, the casuals are looking at Bo Nickel. They don't even know he lost to RDR, and they're like, oh, it's got to be Bo Nickel. We've heard that name before. But I think that Rodolfo Vieira is going to come out and surprise a lot of people. He's going to make it rough. He's going to make it, you know, like when Bo Nickel goes to take him down, he's going to sprawl, and there's going to be like a head collision, I think, in this fight. And I think it's going to be dirty, gritty, and I think that Bo Nickel, it's going to be a true test of his mettle. And so I think that Rodolfo Vieira might come out there and do something with him. But, you know, because it's like Bo Nickel, you look at those great victories, right? Out of his last 5, let's see. Jamie Pickett, Val Woodburn, Cody Brundage, Paul Craig. Rodolfo Vieira's fought way better competition, and he's got really solid counter wrestling. So I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira here. What do you think?
Yeah, that win over Armin Petrosian. I mean, submitting Armin Petrosian, I know he doesn't have a strong grappling, but he is a great striker, you know, so that looks like a great win. The Petrosky loss looks bad. Even though Petrosky is a good grappler in himself, that doesn't look good. Chris Curtis decision loss doesn't look good. You know, win, Trayshawn Gore, meh. You know, the Bo Nickel over Jamie Pickett, you know, okay, Val Woodburn is nothing. Cody Brundage, I think Cody Brundage, yes, he submitted, both of them submitted Cody Brundage. Win over Paul Craig. I don't know. I don't hate it. I think what would give Bo Nickel problems, Rodolfo Vieira doesn't do well. And I think that's a good striking game. I don't think Vieira does it that well that it's going to give Nickel that much problems. I think Vieira wants to grapple, and Nickel would love to grapple. Remember, he's a wrestler. He wants to be on top. Vieira is jiu-jitsu. He wants to be on bottom. I don't see this as a winning matchup on the ground for the black belt hunter Rodolfo Vieira. We've also seen him, you know, lose grappling matches before in the UFC, in MMA grappling. So for that reason, I'm going with the young gun Bo Nickel. I think the UFC is very specific and very strategic about what they do with their expected superstars. One loss is okay. You know, you can rise from it, learn from it, it makes you better. I think 2 losses start to be a slide, and I don't think they want to lose the time that they've invested into Bo Nickel. So I see Bo Nickel getting this one done. I think that's why he's the prelim main event, the most amount of eyeballs, so that, you know, the most amount of people that are going to watch is not going to be on the pay-per-view. So I expect Bo Nickel to go out there and get this one done, getting a matchup that is not necessarily a sweetheart matchup. He's still going to, you know, have a good level of competition, but it's going to mean something as a win. But it's a favorable stylistic matchup for him. Let's not be mistaken about that. So yeah, I'm going with Bo Nickel to get this one done, get off the schneid, and try to return back to his pre-championship run.
No. Well, we did Beneil Dariush versus Benoit Saint-Denis, and that's the main card opener.
Oh, it is main card opener.
Yeah.
Damn, I thought that was prelims. I was impressed with the card was so strong. I was willing to bet that was all right.
You're good.
Yes.
Yo, before we jump in, I just want to say we're sponsored by Alp. That's Tucker Carlson's Zyn brand. I have 7 of them in right now, and they fix erectile dysfunction. So check out Alp pouches. Main card.
All right, you are definitely right that the main card does open with Benoit Saint-Denis versus Beneil Dariush. Just to remind the people, I am on Benoit Saint-Denis. You are on Beneil Dariush. I think Benoit Saint-Denis gets a lot of slack, undeservedly, if that's a word. And I think Beneil Dariush is getting a little bit older. I forget how young Benoit Saint-Denis is. And as long as he doesn't have this fight stopped by the judges, I think he is faster and more powerful than Benny. I think he's more durable than Benny. And I think he's got better hips and a better takedown defense then Benny has a takedown offense. So
I have a telescope that lets me see into alternate universes, and there is an alternate universe out there in which Beneil Dariush, deservingly so, got the title shot against Chandler instead of Charles Oliveira, and went on a 7-fight title run. Now he's retired and he's a spokesperson for the Tesla car company, but that is an alternate universe. This is the one that we live in. So I'm still going Beneil Dariush, in case that alternate universe ever makes its way here. So next up on the main card, we've got Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Interesting fight. Carlos Prates lost to Ian Gary. That one speaks a lot to me because Ian Gary just outgamed him in a way that I could see Leon Edwards, who's also pretty good at grappling, do to him in this fight. Now you have Leon Edwards at plus 175. He's lost his last two to Bilal Muhammad and to Sean Brady. Got choked out by Sean Brady, so it's not like he's incredible, but we've seen him tangle with the aging Kamaru Usman. And yeah, I'm going to go with Carlos Prates here, though. I think he's going to end up catching Leon. Leon had his moment. I think that's how this works. You have your moment in the sun, and then here comes the new, young, hungry dog. 3-fight losing streak for Leon Edwards. Carlos Prates, it's going to be a striking match. I think Leon Edwards, it's going to be one of those takedowns if they grapple at all where we're like, oh, come on. Like, you're getting pieced up. Now you dive for an ankle. Carlos Prates has serious power in his hands. And, you look at the guys that Leon's fought recently, like, none of them are it's been Colby, like he's fought the aging guard of the welterweight division, and here comes Carlos Prates, young. I mean, he's only 32, but as opposed to Leon's 34. But I still think you're going to see Carlos Prates, fight nerds, go out there and get it done. And the fight nerds have a lot to prove. All their guys have lost pretty much one fight at this point. Prates came back and he looked awesome against Jeff Neal. And at this point in his career, I don't think that Jeff Neal is too far off from Leon Edwards. So give me Carlos Prates. What do you think?
Yeah, it is interesting because I do believe Leon Edwards is a fair bit better than Jeff Neal. I think he's a little bit smarter of a striker than Jeff Neal. I think he'll actually, the more I think about it, the more similar I believe they are.
Yeah.
I think Leon Edwards is a little bit better of a decision maker. I think he'll pull trigger a little bit quicker than Jeff Neal will. I think Jeff Neal's a little bit more reserved. I also think Leon Edwards probably a little bit more active with his legs. But Carlos Prates is way more active than both of them with his legs. He's far more dynamic striker. He's faster and he can lay the wood. Both Leon Edwards and Jeff Neal can knock people out. But a lot of the times I feel like they're going to overwhelm you with, striking IQ, and winning the exchanges. So with that being said, I think Carlos Prates is a dynamic striker. I could see like what you were saying with Ian Machado Gary, where he was able to outsmart Carlos Prates and kind of outmaneuver him to a decision victory. I could see that happening with Leon Edwards, but it is only a 3-round fight. I think Leon is probably going to be, I would say he'd be aggressive, but he's almost never aggressive. So I think he's probably going to be a little bit on the back foot because Prates is always aggressive. And, Leon Edwards, for what it's worth, I think he's a decent counter striker, but he's not a phenomenal one. And I think he wants to implement his game plan where he is kind of pressing you and he's able to download what you're doing. And, it's not a very fun way to fight. But I think if he's on his back foot and Carlos Prates is throwing dynamic stuff at him, I think it's going to go to Carlos Prates. And like we were saying earlier, I think, one loss isn't a bad thing. Could potentially help a younger fighter. 2, 3, that's when it starts to be a problem. Leon's not a younger fighter. And then you look back at some of those wins. You got Kamaru Usman at the end. Who else you got in here?
Colby.
You got Colby Covington. And then the losses are Bilal Muhammad by unanimous decision from grappling. Sean Brady, another grappling loss. And then I think it's almost fitting with the slide here to unfortunately take a striking loss as well. Probably 2-1 maybe if you're going to be generous enough to give him a round.
That's if Carlos don't catch. Carlos is getting really good with these counter elbows and just counter strike. And I think that you're going to see something drop on Leon's chin and just hurt him. And same goes to be said, right? We're both going with Carlos Prates here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Leon Edwards was taken in that 5th round by Nate Diaz.
Yeah,
He can get hit. He can,
Yeah.
especially with a sneaky, like non-traditional type of combination like Carlos Prates put together against Jeff Neal. Woo!
And then fucking Nate Diaz pointed at him, flipped him off, and started twerking. Like, what the fuck was that? But yo, speaking of guys getting knocked out on their feet, we got next up Michael Morales, 18-0 versus Sean Brady, 18-1. His only loss coming to Bilal Muhammad. This might be sneaky fight of the night because maybe not like after it's all said and done, but in terms of what could happen and what's at stake here, both of these guys moving up through the welterweight division very rapidly. Sean Brady, 3-fight win streak, right? Just talked about it. Choked out Leon Edwards. Before that, Gilbert Burns' decision. Before that, Kelvin Gastelum with the Kimura. Now, Kelvin and Gilbert, okay. Gilbert's a really good grappler, right? He gave Sean Brady a hard time. Maybe he's not as good on his feet anymore, but you know who didn't give Michael Morales a hard time grappling was Gilbert Burns, and he knocked out Gilbert Burns, and Sean Brady couldn't do that. Knocked out Neil Magny. Before that, Jake Matthews, the Celtic kid from Ireland. He's great.
These are big shots. Goes down. This could be it. Wow. This kid is for real.
The kid is legit.
Gilbert Burns trying to survive. The heart on this man. This is done. It's over.
I have a feeling that this week is going to end similarly for Sean Brady. It's just you have these guys that look once in a lifetime and they go undefeated and make sick title runs. And I think that Michael Morales is going to be one. He's got the aura. He's got the cool hair. He's got the personality. I mean, it's only a matter of time until we catch him on the mic a little bit more. I feel like this is going to be a real coming out party for Michael Morales for the casual fans at home. I think that they're really going to see like, holy shit, especially when the hype gets built up with the pre-fight talking. Everybody at home watching the card is going to be like, wow, Sean, 18-1, 18-0, this is huge. And you're going to have Michael Morales go out there and do his thing. Now, on the flip side, could he get taken down and essentially molested by Sean Brady? He could, maybe for a round. But we start every round on the feet, and I think that that's where Michael Morales is. He's very good in the opening of the round, and obviously he's got a clear striking advantage here. So I got a Michael Morales knockout, I think, coming this weekend. It's unfortunate because Sean Brady's cool, man.
Yeah, I like Sean.
Yeah, he's cool. He's from fucking Philly. He's he's a real Philly guy. You hear him talking, and he's got like a Delco accent. He's got like that real Delco accent. You hear him talking. He's like, hey, I'm Sean Brady from Philadelphia. And we like the guy. But I think Michael Morales is going to put him out. Are you in agreement?
Yeah, I mean, listen, one of two things are going to happen. Sean Brady's going to be able to get on those hips and hold him down and have some ground and pound and find some success, damage Michael Morales, make him tired, beat him up, get some lactic acid in those arms and those legs and slow him down. The thing that scares me for Sean Brady is Michael Morales. You see him, decision, knockout. As the guys get better and the level of competition increases, he starts to get these knockouts. And, he's 26 years old. What's even more frightening is, 22, 23, he's starting to get the feeling for striking the level of competition. He gets 25, 26. The most recent fights, he's fighting better competition, and he's landing with more precision. He's not wasting energy. I mean, in that clip we watch against Gilbert Burns, 70, 80, 90% of those landed. He's not wasting energy. He's not getting outside of himself. Even when he fell over and Gilbert tried that takedown, he just, maneuvered around, slipped his leg down, and then just landed a couple more. It was very like, when you think back to the highlights of McGregor when he was at his best, where he was just seemingly so calm until it was over and then he erupted. But in the moment, in the exchange, he's just boom, cool, calm, bang, bang, bang. He's just tactical. And I think that's what we saw with Michael Morales, especially in that knockout of Gilbert Burns. I think it relates because Gilbert Burns is one of the best grapplers. He's 37 now, so maybe not then, but still, against a 26-year-old, you're taking Gilbert Burns. And this guy from Ecuador, Mexican, I don't know that I have seen a ton of his grappling, but if he can execute the way he did against Gilbert Burns, against Sean Brady, I think he has a real chance because of that precision and that power and the way he lands those shots and the fact that he stays so calm under pressure. So I want to go Michael Morales. Again, if Sean Brady can shoot in there and get those hips and then control the ground, it's a little bit of an unknown for me with Michael Morales, but at plus 125, seeing that knockout, and again, seeing how calm he is, and he's a big kid, man. Long arms. He's way bigger than Sean Brady. So if he can keep that distance, and as Sean Brady comes in, knees up the middle, I could see it. I'm going Morales. He's more dynamic. I see that ending more frequently than Brady grappling him and holding him down.
Yeah, and I know it's been a while, but like you got to keep in mind too, Sean Brady did get TKO'd by Bilal Muhammad. Like that's
right.
That's fucking nuts. And like if you remember that sequence, it was like literally just like Sean Brady up against the cage, and then Bilal Muhammad gave him like bah, 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 like these little baby punches, and it was enough to call the fight. So I think Michael Morales is gonna touch him. He's gonna touch him. He's gonna make him feel it. So, yeah, give me Morales. And then, oh, man, this is an exciting one. We got Valentina Shevchenko versus Zhang Weili. Now, you have Shevchenko. First of all, I do want to say something about Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili has fought in Madison Square Garden a lot. Now, not that Valentina Shevchenko is like any stranger to that, but Zhang Weili has had a lot of fights in the Garden. It's like almost her second. I think it's the place where she's fought the most out of all the UFC venues outside of Vegas. Valentina Shevchenko coming off of her trilogy with Alexa Grasso, draw, win, and then won against Menon Fiorot most recently. Now, Zhang Weili is no idiot. Zhang Weili surrendered her belt, moved up a weight class to fight Valentina. Zhang Weili looks like she's potentially the best that she's ever been. She is so dominant right now, the way that she has beat some of these women. I think that this is a serious tactical decision, and she picked the right time to go up and fight Valentina because Valentina's 37, and while ultimately she did win that trilogy against Alexa Grasso, she didn't look the same, and there are flaws and holes in her game plan that she didn't really fix. Alexa Grasso capitalized on that spinning kick from Valentina to win that first fight out of their trilogy and then choked her up and wrapped her up and choked her up. I think that Zhang Weili is that much better at game planning than Alexa Grasso and fucking Diego Lopez in their film room. Zhang Weili probably has a sweatshop working for her, analyzing film study. So I'm going to go with Zhang Weili to just expose something in Valentina's game plan. She's been around for so long, right? The film on her is immense. And she hasn't really changed much. But Zhang Weili, on the other hand, has evolved as a fighter as the years have gone by. Valentina has kind of stayed the same, and her fight style stayed the same, and she's just gotten by on being so good and so much more dominant. But now here comes someone that is, I do think, potentially more dominant, potentially better, and at her peak in her career at 36 years old. She saw the opportunity to go up and fight Valentina, that Valentina's slipping, and she's the most worthy competitor for her at this point, especially after – I mean, you look at Valentina's division. The number one contender fight was Erin Blanchfield versus Manon Fiorot. Zhang Weili brings the fucking action in a way that a lot of the women in the UFC flyweight division do not. And I think she's going to go out there and fucking cream Valentina this weekend. I think she's going to make her hurt. And we've seen what Zhang has done to a lot of other people's faces, right? You'll never forget that Joanna fight, the first one, when she had her looking like a little gray alien. And then the second time around, the spinning back fist. Now, she gets some shit for the Rose losses, but sometimes it's somebody's time and place. Sometimes it's just their moment in history, and I do believe that that was Rose's moment. This is Zhang Weili's moment. She's going to avenge her losses in the Garden. Now, she already did in 2022 against Carla Esparza, but I think that this is going to be the moment that people look back on for Zhang Weili's career, and I'm very, very excited. I'm fucking fired up. This is the only time you're ever going to catch me this fired up for a women's fight, and it is because of that badass Chinese lady, Zhang Weili. What do you think? And look at this. We got some oh yeah from the comments.
I think you're a Zhang Weili fan.
I am.
Listen, I'm colorblind. Is that a red wall behind you?
Yeah, I don't support the CCP. I only support the fighter. All right, it's they got their own issues over there. But
I'm just saying. You got the red background. I don't know, man. That being said, I can't disagree with you. You make a really strong case. I do think it's crazy. You know, like you actually see the ages of these fighters. Like in the last fight, I would have been willing to bet you that Roman Kopylov, maybe not the exact last fight, but I'd be willing to bet you that Roman Kopylov was younger than he actually was. And in this fight, I don't know why, but I think Zhang Weili is way younger than Valentina Shevchenko, only to find out it's only about a year and a half different. This is a tough one because sometimes when you go up, you realize that you were cutting too much weight and it was really affecting your performance. And you actually look better at a higher weight class. Now, Zhang Weili is not that big of a lady, so I don't know how difficult that cut down to 115 was for her and how much better she might look at 125. Valentina, she's pretty solid. I don't know how difficult her cut was either off the top of my head, but that's one thing that you would want to think about. If the 115 cut was not that challenging for Zhang Weili, does she have, how long has she been preparing for this fight? When was her last fight? 9 months ago. So it's not like she put on, a ton of weight, a 36-year-old woman adding a ton of muscle, in 9 months, probably not that realistic, but still, with that being said, it's an unknown. Valentina, she, did not look good against Alexa Grasso, but that's a bigger opponent than Zhang Weili, undoubtedly. So, and a younger opponent too. So this is really, really unknown. Little words of encouragement not to stand above. But it's really unknown for me. I could see it going anyway. I think I don't know that I would give the slight advantage to Valentina, maybe because she's the champion. She's used to fighting at 125. That's why they give her the slight edge. I'm really non-committal on this one. I'm really non-committal because they both are so well-rounded. I think Zhang is stronger. I think she's got more muscle on her. So I think in those stalemates, that's going to be the difference maker. Let's go Zhang Weili.
Committed to either one in this fight, bro. Zhang Weili asked me to marry her tomorrow. That's how committed I am to her in this fight, bro. Give me Zhang.
China?
I'd ask her to come to America. You never know. Maybe I'd go to China, bro. She's probably royalty over there.
Go to China. You don't have to learn Chinese.
I know ni hao.
If she comes here, you have to learn Mandarin.
I'll go to China.
Okay.
Bro, she's like royalty over there. Chance agrees.
I can't say that would have been my decision.
I think she's going to win, not by decision, but maybe she'll finish Valentina. Split decision, either one, according to Lorinus.
They hate us because Lorinus.
All right. Next up, main event.
Look at the power stance back here, by the way.
Fucking Chance, bro. He's man spreading right now.
He is ready to pounce.
He's letting the world.
I think he just farted.
That's what's up, yo. He had to spread those cheeks. Yeah, you see his legs are a little bit tighter now, bro. He's the air out. All right. We gotta stay focused, right? We got the main event now. It's Jack Della Maddalena versus Islam Makhachev. This is fucking wild. And this has gotten no hype whatsoever because it's the end of the pay-per-view era. I live in New York City, and I feel like I have seen very little hype for this one. But I will be watching out for ticket prices to drop because it's still an empty arena, practically, when you look at the ticket sales. So, because this is one of those fights that it should be on everybody's docket, must-see TV. The way that Jack Della Maddalena beat Bilal Muhammad with his – you have Bilal, and he's this he's got the wrestling style. He's not quite the Dagestani. He doesn't quite have the hands of Islam Makhachev. But Islam is moving up into his world now. And we just spoke about weights. And Islam, while he's stout, he has been fighting at 155. I'm sure he's put on the weight the right way. It's going to be an easier weight cut for him, all that good stuff. And we've seen him look like he's dying when he's cutting weight in the past. We've seen Islam look like he's on death's door. But I'm thinking there's already been one Aussie that should have beat Islam Makhachev, and they stripped that away from him. That win was not given to Alexander Volkanovski. Jack Della Maddalena is going to go avenge Volk. That's my prediction. I think that JDM is going to be training with, which he already has been. He's been training with Craig Jones. He's been training with Volk. This is a big moment for Australia. He's putting the continent on his back. Not just the country. He's putting the whole fucking continent and maybe the entire Pacific region on his back tonight, on Saturday night. So, yeah, give me JDM. There's a lot going on here. The hands are awesome. He's got that butterfly technique. He showed it against Bilal. Now he's only been training that much longer in that technique, and we've seen that can beat Islam's wrestling. When you roll to the side, posture your hips, and stand back up, bro, that shit really does work. And if you're ever in a street fight, somebody takes you down, butterfly. I think that Jack Della Maddalena is going to have the answers for the grappling. And when it comes to the feet, I don't think Islam's going to have an answer for him. There was no moment in the Bilal fight where I was like, only when the judges read the scorecards at the end. And that's what this is going to come down to. I think that this is going to be a decision. Both of these guys are awesome. And the fact that now we've seen it, right, where somebody stepped into Islam's world and Islam struggled with him. I think Islam's going to step into this Aussie's world and struggle. So give me Jack Della Maddalena plus 210. That's all it is against the Dagestani. A guy that had a great title run, it's only plus 210. What is Vegas thinking here? They're going, well, nobody's going to touch JDM, but we don't want to make it sweet enough that they really want to because there's a chance. And I'm willing to take that chance. Give me Jack Della Maddalena to beat Islam Makhachev. What do you got?
I don't know how much I'm going to be able to get through because I think kids are coming home from school and Chance has to protect the house. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to get through over his barks, but there was something I wanted to say. Oh, we had a comment here from Lorenus, and they went split decision to either one. And I wanted to call them out a little bit, unfortunately, because I think that implies, like, saying it's a split decision implies that, oh, the fight was close. And you would think that, but it definitely does not, because you can get a split decision in a fight that was totally lopsided. In New York, that's less likely than, say, in Abu Dhabi or in a destination, say Spain, and you have a Spanish fighter going up against an American, and the Spanish fighter gets annihilated by the American, goes to a decision. The American wins a 2-1 decision because, one of those judges was in the pocket for the Spanish fighter because it was a hometown. So, that implies it's not. I think this is going to be a very close fight, but I don't know that it's going to end in a split decision because I think it's going to be close. But I think ultimately you may have the judges who all are in agreement that, hey, control time matters more or damage matters more. That's what I think is going to be more interesting. And if I had more time, I would go back and I would look at what the New York Athletic Commission for Fighting has traditionally judged, grappling based or fights between strikers and grapplers. Do they traditionally tend to side on damage? Because then I'd want to go Jack Della Maddalena because Islam's obviously a control-based fighter, especially up a weight class here. Everybody talks about his legendary grappling and his legendary strength, but against a guy like JDM, who's just going to be bigger, I know that Islam is used to wrestling bigger guys in camp, in practice. But again, that's different than doing it in the octagon. And when we saw JDM not fall victim to Bilal Muhammad's takedowns every single time, certainly some of the times, but was still able to fight out and fight his way to a decision. That was a close fight, but it wasn't a split decision, right? Or was it? I could be wrong on that one. No, it was a unanimous decision, but it was still a close fight. That being said, I could see a lot of similarities in these two because Islam is a little bit smaller than Bilal. I mean, he obviously takes fewer PEDs. At least they just don't show. He may have a lot more grappling endurance than Bilal does. It is a 5-round fight. So listen, for me, it's going to depend. Is it going to be damage-based or control-based scoring?
I got one for you. I just asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT says, the New York Commission and Judging Trends. New York State Athletic Commission uses the standard 10-point must system, of course, emphasizing effective striking and grappling, but in practice, New York judges have shown a pattern, statistically and anecdotally, of rewarding visible damage and aggression over control time.
So I like that because you know why?
Strikers winning decisions, 60 to 65%. Grapplers winning decisions, 35 to 40%. Then it lists examples of Usman Covington, Pereira Adesanya, Chris Weidman versus Jacare Souza, Gastelum versus Till. AI, we're living in the future, baby.
This is great analysis here. So what was that second part? The first part sounded like it was siding towards Maddalena with the damage-based scoring being
right. And then it
more
says that strikers winning decisions typically win 60 to 65% of the time.
So if we're talking about aggression and damage-based, unfortunately, Jack Della Maddalena does show damage. So that's something that could impact the scoring here. If Islam's able to have more control time, but he's able to land on Maddalena's face, even if it's less, it might show damage more. So that's a problem. That is a problem. But Jack Della Maddalena is going to land more. And I think that could swap side, his way. What say you?
No, we forget, but Islam does wear damage pretty badly. Look at him after the Volk fight. Look at him after
the Volk fight. That's a good point.
He does wear damage really, really badly. When he gets pieced up, especially in this region, he gets fucking welts very fast.
We got 3 viewers. I want to hear what the viewers think of this and this damage-based versus control-based scoring debate in New York. Personally, after what we just heard from ChatGPT and the damage-based fighter getting the 60 to 65% of the time, I think that aligns with Jack Della Maddalena. I think, they want to keep champions. I don't know that the UFC loves rotating champions frequently because Islam already has a star. Jack Della Maddalena without his belt is less of a star. So I think it makes more sense for him to have it and still rings awesome. I'm going to go Jack Della Maddalena to squeak this one out. It is a 5-rounder, though, and this is such a good fight. Such a good fight. Give me Jack Della, JDM.
I mean, according to the statistics, it's very interesting. It's showing that almost 70% of the time, because there's MSG always brings the crowd, and the crowd always reacts to MSG. And if you've ever been to the Garden for any event, I've seen Knicks games there. I've seen Harry Styles perform there. The place fucking boom, boom, boom. The place rocks. And I think that is going to impact the judging. And I think all it's going to take is 1 or 2 good hits per round from Jack Della Maddalena to get the place going and to affect the judges.
Well, you got to remember. Well, here's another very interesting point. And this might come off as racist. But this is happening in New York, who just elected Mamdani's stand, right? So are they going to cheer for Jack Della or are they going to cheer for Islam Makhachev? Let's be honest. It's going to be Jack Della because it's the UFC cohort. It's going to be UFC fans, not New Yorkers necessarily. So you're going to get Jack Della Maddalena getting the cheers. So if he lands the big shot, everything, it's a home game for JDM.
And the commies ain't going to fucking spend $700 to watch fighting, bro. It's just how it is. So yeah, there's that aspect of it too. I think the crowd is really going to be on Jack.
Right, I was trying to have a creative angle here. I was trying to look at it.
Stardom, and potentially losing Islam as a star, champ, whatever. Yeah, sure, he vacated the lightweight belt, but is there an interim fight yet, or is there a vacant fight? They haven't booked one yet. You know why? Right. They're waiting for him to lose.
Give him the shot. I like it. Give me JDM. I'm with it.
Let's go, baby. Let's make some fucking money. Pick rundown time.
All right. I'll kick it to you first.
All right, I just want to say, if you're going to bet responsibly. We're not responsible for you. We got Vyacheslav Borshev going. I have Vyacheslav Borshev beating Mateus Camilo. I got Chepe Mariscal beating Pat Sabatini. Kyle Dawkins to finish Gerald Mearshart. But just to beat him, just to beat. Aaron Blanchfield to beat Tracy Cortez. Gregory Rodriguez to beat Roman Kopylov. I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira to beat Bo Nickel. Beneil Dariush to beat Benoit Saint-Denis. Carlos Prates to beat Leon Edwards. Michael Morales to beat Sean Brady. Zhang Wei Li to beat Valentina Shevchenko. And big live dog pick. Jack Della Maddalena, JDM over Islam Makhachev in the main event. What do you got?
All right. I felt like Brian Redband there, just putting a sound that doesn't really fit 35 minutes too late. Pick rundown time. I am going with Camilo over Slavakos. I am going with Mariscal over Sabatini, going with Dawkins over GM Free as the British like to say. Erin Blanchfield getting the win over Tracy Cortez, and I'll go Kopylov over Rodriguez. Screw it. Rounding out the prelims, give me Nickel over Vieta. On the main card, I got BSD, Benoit Saint Denis, getting the victory over Benny Dariush. Carlos Prates over Leon Edwards. Michael Morales over Sean Brady. Give me Wei Lee over Valentina and JDM over Islam. It's going to be a good fight, man. It's going to be a good card. I'm excited for it.
I'm fucking stoked, man. I'm definitely going to parlay my 2 picks for those championship fights. And then when Wei Lee wins, I'm going to be like, all right, do I cash out now and, or risk JDM getting smoked? Like, I feel good about JDM and I feel about Zhang. So that's my official parlay, those 2, and maybe throw in a little Michael Morales action there. But that's even tough. No, just give me those 2 title cards. That's my pick. That's my parlay for this weekend. But again, bet responsibly. Please like, comment, subscribe. We love the interaction from the chat, especially from Saransi Haraket and Lorinus. Love talking with you guys. So jump in the chat. When you subscribe, hit that notification button so you know when we're going live. Follow us on X and Instagram @_Pickin Winners, @Pickin Fights Tom, @Pickin Heath on my end. What else am I missing? Spotify for audio and video, and let us know what you think of the picks in the comments. Anything else?
Let us know your favorite movie while you're at it.
I think you're muted.
No?
Well, now we can't hear Tom.
Oh, well,
oh shit. All right. Well, I'm gonna send us off. I want to thank you for being with us today. Thank you, Tom, for being here. And see you next week.